I'm delighted this morning to welcome to the Think Teacher platform, Daniella Nerwich, who is the talent executive for the King David Schools in South Africa. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
Well, it's a privilege for us to have you on the platform. And I'm telling the Think Teachers why you're here is that I met Danny when I facilitated a workshop on their leadership program at the school, and then discovered that we actually had a shared background because Danny has worked in the corporate space. And so I think she's so well placed to take what the corporates are doing really to accelerate the development of their executives into the teaching space, and such a needed area for teachers. And so I've asked Daniella this morning to come and share with us what she has transferred into the schools, into the education space from the corporate, what best practices that she's learned, and then to give us some idea of what's happening in the King David schools so that we can learn from it and possibly apply it in our schools. So Danny, I'm handing over to you.
Right. Thank you so much. So yes, as you mentioned, my background was in corporate. I'm an industrial psychologist by profession and really passionate about people development, and held various roles at different corporates, specifically in the HR and talent space. And a few years ago, I was afforded this incredible opportunity of taking up the role of talent executive at King David Schools. It was a new role that was crafted especially in recognition of the fact that we need to start and continue to develop and invest in our talent and in our teachers for the sustainability of our schools in the future. And so it was really an amazing marriage of taking a lot of the principles and the disciplines and best practice and bringing it into a very purposeful space, being the educational environment. So we really define talent as kind of your clinical definition: attract, develop, and retain. And I think that for the purposes of today, it's an opportunity for me to share a little bit of what we're doing at King David Schools to develop our talent, and really invest in them for the future, for now and for the future.
Sounds exciting, Danny, really. So we can't wait to hear.
So, I mean, I think maybe just to share with you, one of our real passion project is our learnership program, which is actually around attracting and developing new talent into the organization. And so we work very closely with student teachers, where we invite them to put themselves forward for our learnership program, and the successful candidates, we subsidize their studies, but much more than that, during the course of their studies, they have amazing opportunities to be placed at different schools. As I said, we now actually have 10 schools, but to be placed in different schools, to be mentored by some of our real expert master teachers, to get exposure in parallel to what they're studying, so that they're really best equipped to move into the working world of teachers as they come out. Because often what we find is when teachers come out, they still are lacking a lot of familiarity with the actual practical side, even though they have their pracs. And so here they really have mentors, they have exposure, we have talks for them and interventions and workshops for them all the time. So, and we've really seen amazing success and an amazing ability to place them within our schools and even within the broader community.
Right.
In terms of our current teachers, I think that we put a huge amount of effort into leadership development. And when I say leadership, we almost defined it or looked at it from two specific angles. The one angle is acknowledging the fact that every teacher is a leader in their own right, and recognizing that aspect of their role and putting in place development, ongoing development to enhance, to grow, to enrich them. But at the same time, also understanding that we as an organization need to build and invest in leadership and in the leadership capacity and capability of the organization for the future. And so we almost took a two-pronged approach to leadership development. The one is wide-scale initiatives that are offered to every single teacher in the system, and that varies from empowerment series on a whole range of topics, conflict communication that all teachers are invited to, or Dare to Lead, run through the work of Brené Brown. We're doing Daring Classrooms at the moment, and any teacher across the system that wants to participate can. We've done the love languages across all, so really offering a lot of enrichment and growth to all teachers. And then also looking at building a leadership pipeline for the future and growing teachers that want to grow in terms of their leadership and taking on more managerial responsibilities within the school. And at the time, we were very uncertain how to approach leadership development within schools. I'd obviously had a lot of exposure to your kind of very traditional leadership development programs through the different universities and, even run by private companies. But we wanted something a little bit different because I think schools are different. So we wanted something that was very groundbreaking and that was almost cutting edge in the thinking of leadership identity and leadership development. We searched far and wide, and we even put it to tender, and eventually we partnered with an Israeli-based organization called LEAD, capital L, capital E, capital A, capital D, who are really leadership development experts, but they have a very different paradigm to what I think many of us have been accustomed to. And their paradigm is very transformational. It's not a sitting in lecture type of paradigm at all. It's much more transformational based and allowing the teachers that participate in this leadership development initiative to really almost like confront their leadership identity, to explore it, to choose it, and to also identify an area within themselves that they really want to grow. And what actually lands up happening is that the curriculum of the program isn't developed by me or by a professor, but it's actually developed by the needs of the group. So if we have 11 group members, they each have different areas that they want to focus on, but all the areas benefit everybody. And they actually, we call it a self-directed leadership program. They direct their own leadership development.
Wow.
So we're already on our third cohort, and we've seen phenomenal results in terms of people and participants that have been on the program choosing leadership and ultimately moving into different leadership roles within the organization, or continuing to enhance the current positions that they're in already, and just bringing what they've learned from their peers and from the program to the organization.
Thank you, Dani. I find it so exciting to see that there's opportunities within the school, because very often we, as teachers, we love where we are, but we realize we'd love to grow once, we grow within our subject. So I love the idea of the ability to stay where I'm happy, but within that have an opportunity to grow. So yeah, Dani, go for it.
No, I just wanted to say that's why we almost landed up at that two-pronged approach, because many teachers don't want to leave the classroom. That is their happy place, that is their passion area, and they would reject taking on leadership or managerial roles because they don't want to leave the classroom, but it doesn't equate to them not wanting to grow. And I think that's so important, that there is this there are these two kind of different tracks that are almost going on at the same time, where you can still grow, you can still attend workshops. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to leave the classroom. So I think that's always the balance in education. Got it.
And Dani, what role does mentorship play in terms of the leadership branch of your program? So you've got the internship, and I understand that there's a mentorship there, but is there an informal mentorship that happens? How does it work? And is everyone in your leadership team, your leadership program, from one King David school? Do they come together from various? Do you do it online? I want to translate it into practicalities for
Okay, so obviously for the last 2 years, we've had to be very, very inventive in the way that we do leadership. Leadership development should be face-to-face. It's nuanced, it's not something that is optimal online at all. But at the same time, we didn't want to lose the traction that we had created. And we are in constant contact with our partners in Israel, and they were astounded actually by how we managed to reconsider and relook at the way that we did this leadership development, to the point that there were certain points where they actually had decided to just stop, and we were still trying different things online. And so we actually did manage to progress in some form online. But the typical format is that the leadership program starts with a 3-day retreat, a leadership retreat, which is facilitated. There's myself and two colleagues, Josh Sevitz and Karen Horowitz. We're all very, very different, and we come from different backgrounds, and we have different strengths. It's a wonderful privilege to work in such a complementary team. And we facilitate this leadership retreat where we really go away, and as I said earlier, it's a facilitated exploration of your individual leadership identity through various mechanisms. Very, very introspective and very transformational in terms of your way of thinking around what leadership actually means. At the end of the retreat, our very last session is facilitated process of each leader identifying what area they want to focus on in their growth for the duration of the program, and together with their colleagues putting together this curriculum. And what actually ends up happening as a result is that each one of the leaders is responsible for that module, and they go and do incredible amount of research and investigation and dialogue, and there's a huge shift in them as a result of that work. But then they bring that work to the group. And so after the retreat, we have ongoing what we call self-managed learning get-togethers, where a leader will take full accountability for that module and present it to the group. But it isn't academic in nature. It's practical and transformational in nature. And it's an experience to almost in a 3 to 4 hour period, give over as much as you can of what you've learned and bring about the shift in the team, and also share the shift in yourself. So that's really the process. There's a lot of natural mentorship that happens in schools. And so I think that it's almost happening in parallel. There's the natural mentorship happening, and all our heads of school are incredibly supportive of, anything to do with developing, growing teachers. It's really a passion of the organization and of our general director, Rabbi Ricky Seif. We're all very like-minded in terms of development of staff. So there's a lot of support and natural mentorship that happens in the schools. And then obviously the involvement of myself and my two colleagues that continue to work with the leaders, even after the program is, officially complete. But it's not a destination program, it's a journey program. So there's no outcome, there's no mark. It's a journey, and everybody's going to take different things around their leadership for that journey. And it's not a destination.
Yeah, I love that. Because that frees me to be locked into any fixed outcome. It allows me to say, let me explore. And I love also the use of the word transformational. It reminds me of that saying that says, to be a leader, you must first lead yourself. And so that self-awareness, that self-discovery. So last question, Danny, because it's been fabulous. Thank you so much. So I'm a teacher, or let's say a leader of some kind in a school, and I feel like, gosh, I can just sort of manage what I'm doing at the moment. What would you say to me? But I'd love to do something like this within my school or for myself. What would you say to schools or to teachers or to boards or leadership to say how without necessarily having the resources of someone like a Danny within the school, how would I kickstart this in a way that would just get it rolling?
Well, I think as a starting point, I want to say that our passion isn't just about King David schools. Obviously, that's where we focus on, but our passion is about education in general. And we'd always be very open to anyone who wants to chat or explore in any way. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to share. I think that that's a general problem even in our environment. Teachers often feel very overloaded, and they often do feel like they don't have capacity. Whilst they want to grow, they don't necessarily have the capacity, because teaching is much more than a 24/7 job. It's all encompassing on an emotional, spiritual, physical level, and not everybody has the time or is able to free up the time for growth. And so many, in fact, all of our initiatives are very voluntary. It's something that people do, and I always feel that when someone wants to do it, the outcome's always much more successful in terms of, you know, your own investment in your self-growth. During the very interesting thing that I want to share with you, Kim, is that our attendance to a lot of the talks and the initiatives that we run throughout the year on an ad hoc basis, we have ongoing talks as well for all the teachers. And we have quite a cross-sectional view of talent, that even though each school is an individual school, a lot of our initiatives are open across school. And so they have the opportunity to meet teachers from other schools and other age groups, which is always very diverse and very interesting. But what I really want to share with you is what was so interesting to me is that the attendance to a lot of these initiatives increased over the last 2 years as opposed to decrease. I think that the need for connection, for inspiration, was high, and also the convenience of being able to lie in your pajamas after a heavy day in the classroom with your camera off, but listening to something that's feeding your soul was really compelling. And so we saw really record attendance at a lot of our initiatives. The one thing that we also put in place, which I think was something that many teachers have expressed feeling that it was very valuable, was we developed a platform. We called it the Teacher Channel, which was a platform for connection during COVID. After the initial kind of first few weeks, we just could see that teachers needed connection. They needed to feel part of something. They would benefit from articles or videos or just messages of support. So we created a teacher channel, but once again, it wasn't compulsory. Teachers opted in, and it's something we've continued even to today.
Wow.
And once again, it's almost like organic. You sign up, you get the information. If you want to read it, you can. If you don't, you don't. So I think we're trying to tackle teacher development from various angles and have a lot of exciting things in the pipeline for this year, and especially with things opening up. I think the opportunities for teacher enrichment, for development are huge, and we have to really grab them with both arms.
Wow, Danny, it's inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing. I really also appreciate your willingness to share, because I think that's what the teacher community needs to do. Because as you say, your commitment is not just to your school community, but to education in general. And if we can uplift and support our teachers in what's been quite a tough time in and out of the classroom and online, that would be great. So I'm so appreciative of that. And
I certainly don't think we're getting it right all of the time. In fact, I know that we're not getting it right all of the time, but people matter, and we're just going to keep on aspiring to make that very loudly felt and heard.
Thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks for the opportunity.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.